Obviously, excuse my mask, excuse my glasses. I do this for safety reasons. I am considered to be one of the most important cooperators in DA history. Me and my twin brother cooperated against the Sinaloa Cartel and other drug cartels in Mexico. Um, so I take my safety seriously here. I did put together a presentation. I just want to say it's a great follow up to be coming after Mr. Dr. Zuloff too. Um, Again, I'm going to address things from my perspective. There's obviously so many topics I could speak about, but I put together a presentation that I really believe that goes that not enough effort is being made. I agree with the terms. You know, these drug cartels. To me, being involved at the highest levels. I started drug trafficking at the age of 7, along with my dad. We ran our first drugs across the U.S. Mexican border before the age of 8. I grew up in the world of narcos and cartels and what today are foreign terrorist organizations. And and I, you know, being from the U.S., I was American. I think what I always tell every one of my every one of my classes, I tell everyone who attends is that I was American first, and before I met any drug lord, me and my organization was moving around 1,500 kilos of cocaine monthly in the Midwest region of the United States, and I think it's a good example for me to be able to describe how these organizations work, because it's not um, a cartel that it's overrunning a region. It's a drug cartel that, especially Mexican drug cartels, that partner with organized crime syndicates in different regions around the world, and that's what makes them strong. As it was with the case with me and my brother, the organization. So I put together a presentation. I'm going to share my screen if that's okay. Mm, let's see if this works for me. Okay, guys. Mm, are you guys able to see my presentation? Could somebody tell me?
Yes, we are able to see the presentation.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, appreciate it. Okay, to be just being involved, I put together the presentation of the business of cartels. Okay, to me, they're more systems and logistics systems, and I think that with the current administration and everything that this current administration is doing, I think it's great. I think it's on. I never thought that the government could actually go to this extent, and for what this administration is doing, it's to me it's amazing. They did more in this last year and a half, I believe, than I think that most administration have done in the last 30 years. So I do believe that they're taking the right approach, and I just think there's a few points that need to be emphasized in that. Um, Again, with my background, you know, I work directly with the Sinaloa Cartel at the highest levels. We traffic drugs from source countries in South America and importing them into Mexico, then into the United States and Canada. So I do have that first, you know, hand experience and perspective. I spent a total of 14 years in prison, and for my crimes. And I had a lot of time to think about what made my organization successful, what made the Sinaloa Cartel successful, and I wanted to give back. I do believe that, you know, my firsthand knowledge and experience is unique. Uh, I, I do know that I'm one of the, you know, only persons with this type of perspective that's wanting to make change, that's teaching law enforcement. I go around the country and have seminars about this. So I really appreciate the opportunity. Um, our organization, along with the Sinaloa Cartel, moved drugs in airplanes, trains, cargo ships, commercial vehicles, and cargo containers. We also traffic in, not just in cocaine, marijuana, and heroin. We also, I was also importer of precursors from China and India, specifically New Delhi, and we use commercial cargo shipments as well as commercial cargo airplanes to ship precursors from New Delhi into Mexico. At that time, it wasn't fentanyl yet. We were using precursors like pseudoephedrine and other precursors to make methamphetamines. Um, I work directly with some of the biggest drug lords in the world, who are currently now either deceased or sitting in American prisons. Um, uh, I do believe we took an important piece, and we were an important piece into bringing some of these drug traffickers to justice here in the United States. And one thing I do know is that Mexican drug cartel members, and especially drug lords, one thing they fear the most is not just American prisons, but it's American laws, because the United States um, um, does punish crime, does go after drug lords, people like myself and like Chapo, Guzmán, and Mayo, Zambada, and just as recently with the Mexicans capture and killing of CJNG boss El Mencho. So they do fear the United States. These laws here that are put in place do work as a deterrent. But uh, I don't think they're. It might seem that they're not effective, but uh, I, I do believe that the United States going after these uh, drug lords in their country is effective. Before being in Mexico because of corruption, it was a safe haven for them, and now it's an added pressure for them. And I do believe that eventually it will act as a deterrent for these drug cartels to stop being so violent and maybe uh, being more like what's happening now in Colombia, more like ghost cartels. So I do think that the approach is going to help. And to me, I say, I bring this up. What is a cartel? What is the definition of a cartel? And the corporate definition is it's a group of independent companies or individuals that work together instead of competing, to fix prices or control a market. And I say this because I think that sometimes, especially for law enforcement and for policymakers, that gets overlooked. Um, and my definition of what's a Mexican drug cartel is basically a drug cartel is a group of people working together for the purpose to produce, transport, or sell drugs. The objective is a profit. Um, the only difference between a corporate cartel and a drug cartel is that the products that drug cartels move are illegal, and to me it's a business. It's not. I was on the business side. My organization was nonviolent. We worked together hand in hand with the Sinaloa Cartel to distribute tons of illegal narcotics. The common misconception that I've seen as being investigated and working with the government was that we target the heads and leaders of these organizations. We drug seizures. That's probably the number one prize, the number one thing that law enforcement really goes after because it's to them it's the reward of their work. And as we have seen, it hasn't always been effective. Uh, the the misconception that you take the head off and the organization collapses, and it's always looked at more as a pyramid type leadership, top to bottom. And to me, being involved at the highest level, I always looked at it as it was more linear. It's a bunch of different important figures working together, a bunch of different organizations that work together to distribute and sell drugs around the world. So a good example for me is that if we compare them to a corporate company, and my comparison is always like Amazon. That you remove Jeff Bezos, from Amazon, you're still receiving packages. Okay, you will still receive your Amazon packages. You remove the CEO from McDonald's, you would still be able to go to your local McDonald's and eat the same burger that you were beforehand. And a greatest example is Apple. Steve Jobs passed away, decades ago, and Apple continues to exist and continues to put out products and are still considered the top corporation in the world. Um, the core principles to me in the cartel is that you have fragments of groups of people that work together. and work together to distribute and to import drugs, and everyone has shares a different role. It's not, although these drug lords are the leaders, they will be the leader of their organization, and they facilitate the ability for other drug trafficking organizations to work with them as a support and underneath it, but they are not ran by one person or one organization. And what I see that they're really great at is partnering. Partner with different organized crime organizations around the world. If it's in Canada, especially today in Canada, or uh, their their collaboration and partnership with biker gangs and Italian mafia and the triads, um, makes them be able to use their networks and use their control of different regions of the legal markets to be able to distribute their drugs, and it works the same around the world. Um, and I've never seen a drug cartel, even here in the United States, overtake. And I know that's the common misconception, is that there's drug cartels that operate in 200 or no, I believe 76 countries around the world. Um, but they don't control the market. Even for me, at one time, I could have been one of the biggest drug distributors in the United States, and especially for our organization, we focus on the central United States and the eastern northeast region of the United States. But we work with the cartel. They did not control. It's an open market, it's free enterprise. We were allowed to do whatever we wanted with those drugs as long as they received payment and were paid for their drugs. Um, so they look for partnerships, and what I see is that for those countries that lag behind focusing, and because of their laws or lack of laws of going to after organized crime, like in the United States has done over the years with the Italian mafia and different organizations, that a lot of these countries fail to have a good understanding. And uh, your previous speaker, Dr. Soloff, here basically said it's intelligence, right? Uh, uh, because there's no laws or policies that are able to target these organizations, and it doesn't provide any uh, uh, a want of anyone to basically break off like me and my brother did, and cooperate with authorities against some of these organizations. And uh, to me, the most important tool for law enforcement, for the government, is intelligence. It's informants, people like me who provide inside knowledge of how these organizations are operating. Um, and 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 I do believe that changing the laws to be able to make it lucrative, and make it enticing for people to break away from these organizations and come in and cooperate, or even target them for arrest. I think that will make a big difference. But the lack of in these countries is what makes these organizations so very strong. Is someone's fear to cooperate against them. Right now, we are, to me, it's the common focus for over 50 years, that there's just been war on drugs, especially here in the United States, that I feel like this country has actually dealt more with the drug issues than any other country. Has been that, the United States and law enforcement government most of the time target product leadership, and celebrate the seizures and arrests. And that's not, to me, a way that would be effective in combating these, foreign terrorist organizations, transnational crime syndicates. Now, um, there has to be more done, and I believe that even though it's great, it has to be a multifaceted approach. The same effort that goes to arrest these drug lords and seize these drugs. And right now, we see that the United States is taking military action in the Pacific and Atlantic Ocean, and bombing some of these drug vessels. I think that's more symbolic, but I think we have to take the same approach in going after the systems that makes them strong. Um, it's a business. To me, even though drugs are distributed, drugs flow out, money flows back. And for us, we at one time we're trafficking uh, close to 3,000 kilos of cocaine alone every month. We were not measuring our success by the kilos we were selling. We were measuring by the money that we were making, and that's what the cartels do. Their main objective is a profit. Their main objective is to um, to bring back cash, to bring back those profits that they invest. And those investments are the fuel of these organizations. They're the ones that entice people like me, young adults or people all around the world, to get into the drug trade. Uh, if there wasn't such a large profit, I don't think that there'll be so many young men trying to join these cartels and risk their life. Uh, and I believe that's what we have to target: is the money that flows back, this money that fuels, corruption, money that's used to buy weapons, to buy armies. Uh, uh, what I see, especially on social media, that we have this common misconception of what the cartel looks. When you see these people wearing, ski masks with utility vests and AKs, which is it is a part of it, but that is not the business. That's what these people who have the money to be able to buy those bullets and pay for those men. That's what you get with power, and to me, money is the power. My organization alone um moved over $3 billion of bulk U.S. currency. That's cash. I know right now there's a lot of us that um talk about cryptocurrency and different methods of money laundering. And I think that those are all important, but I don't believe we have even targeted, even here in the United States or around the world, the business of cash, the business of that's the way drug cartels operate. The business of drugs are paid for in cash and bulk U.S. currency in euros and different currencies around the world. It it's important because we don't want anyone to trace us back. We don't want to leave any paper trail. And one of the things is to give you an example is that what $3 billion of bulk U.S. currency weighs. People really don't take that into consideration. For someone like me who operates at the highest level does, is that the because the denominations of drugs are, your common denomination is $20 bill. We move back an average of 3,000 metric tons of cash in weight back into Mexico. And that goes for mostly any drug. From my experience, that for every pound or kilo of illegal narcotics, you need at least a kilo and a half to 2 kilos of the same weight in currency to be um, sent back to the source countries. If it's Mexico, South American countries, or even precursor countries that are providing these precursors. So I think that gets overlooked. There's a big difference between drug seizures, especially here, like in the United States, where the United States is doing a great job with the sealing of the southern border, but and going after so many seizures. I think last year alone there was about over 1 million um, uh, pounds of illegal narcotics seized. And from my firsthand experience, I would say that we don't. There should have been at least 2 million pounds of U.S. currency seized, but that wasn't the case. Last year alone, I think the government seized around $105 million collectively in the United States, and that doesn't equate to how many drugs are coming into the United States and into Canada. And it's been a common it's common here for law enforcement, even around the world, law enforcement I speak to, even in while I was operating, that um, they don't. It's law enforcement doesn't go after the money, especially in the bulk U.S. currency. Drug traffickers separate the business of drugs and the business of money. It's two different entities, and this works, for cartels or smaller drug trafficking organizations, even at the street level. They don't mix money with drugs, and I think that for me, it's the common push that I say: you take away the money and you take away some of the power. Uh, And I do see that as long as we don't change that mindset, the demand continues to increase, and we have to bring down the demand. If not, you have different people, different organizations all around the world. The consumption of drug use is spreading, and it's only going to make these drug cartels even more powerful because of the money that they're making, the profits that they're making. I think that you know historically it's just been the same type of mindset. It's going after the supply, and cartels and drug trafficking organizations and criminal organizations will evolve. You see you see it with fentanyl, and more. I see it that's going to be continue to evolve to synthetic drugs, and this is where a lot of these countries, especially a country like India, that provides a major source of the precursors. Countries like China, but as the government start to target these countries, they look for other countries to basically supply these, and but the way these organizations are targeted, it's old. You know it's nothing new, and I do believe that it has to change. It has to be targeted more as a system, than a drug cartel or a criminal organization. It's two separate entities. Um, um, to me, it's you're you know most governments are look at their finding these criminals. I believe we have to take the approach of finding a system, right? And because the system is designed to survive arrest, to survive seizures, to survive somebody being taken away from that organization. So it to me, it's more, we need to treat it more like a business, and fight them like a business. And in order for business to succeed, you need money. And I believe that we have to put more emphasis on going after the bulk U.S. currency, and different currencies that come back to source countries that provide them the fuel to be able to um, uh, uh, go and be able to take over, and sometimes even governments, and pay for corruption, and pay for military style weapons, and pay for armies that of people who have no fear of spreading violence in Mexico and these source countries. I don't see um cartel violence spreading over to the United States, because again, the misconception is that cartels run certain cities in America, but it's always going to be your local organized crime, your gangs, organizations like me, who work with American gangs, and they control those markets. They're not thinking about taking over regions or taking over cities or neighborhoods. They're looking to partner up, just like a franchise would in a corporate company. Um, uh, I know I didn't have a lot of time. There's so many things I could probably speak about just hearing this. So I appreciate being able to be here, and